Good morning. I declare today's meeting open and I welcome everyone here in the gallery, joining us online, as well as to my fellow councillors, executive, CEO, everyone joining us this morning, welcome. Now, would everyone please stand as I ask Councillor Suarez to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Yesterday we had cultural training here in the chamber and that was delivered by Kerry from Tribal Link, and he talked about authenticity in the acknowledgement. So I'm going to have a crack at that and veer away from the written speech. So forgive me if I if I don't follow protocol. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Sunshine Coast, the Kabi Kabi and Yinabara peoples, and recognise that they were the first inhabitants here on the Sunshine Coast. Hundreds of years ago, here where we meet today, Kabi Kabi called these lands and waters home. And they met, shared stories, traded, and just like we will do today, discuss issues and make decisions. Statistics tell us that we as a nation still have work to do to improve legacy issues, particularly around incarceration, health, education and employment. To that end, our council remains committed to continue to work in partnership with the Kabi Kabi and Yinabara people to build a shared future. We thank and respect our traditional owners for sharing knowledge and culture with our diverse community. Knowledge that was passed down to them, that they now pass on to their descendants, and they will then share to our children and our grandchildren. Together, we are all stronger.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Please remain upstanding now as I invite Pastor John Pearce from C3 Powerhouse in Warana to provide a blessing. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you, Mayor Natoli. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. Just a quick little intro of me, just so we know before I pray. I'm a 33-year resident of the sunny coast, love the Sunshine Coast, raised my family here, my 3 kids. I'm an empty nester and then I'm not, and then I'm an empty nester and then I'm not, and right now I'm not. I keep coming back and run 3 businesses here on the coast. I still run a manufacturing business and have the privilege of leading our church, C3 Powerhouse, which is about 1,000 people at Warana, and also oversee about 600 churches around the world who are part of the C3 movement. So it's a privilege to be here in your new digs and to pray here today. My first time here, it's awesome. So let's pray. Father, I just thank you for the magnificent Sunshine Coast, this beautiful place that we call home, and what a privilege it is to live here. And I just pray for this community, that we would have strong communities, that we would have families that are blessed, that would be safe and prosperous. Lord, I thank you for our mayor and this council and all the staff at this council. And I pray for your hand to be upon them, that they would have wisdom, that they would have grace, that you would strengthen them with good health. Lord, that the blessing of God would be upon them. Guide them today as they meet in all decisions that they make. We commit them to you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Pastor John. Please go with our best wishes for today. Please be seated, everyone. I would also like to acknowledge we have a visiting mayor with us. Mayor Marcus Blackie of King Island Council in Tasmania is with us in the gallery. Welcome today. Councillors, can I please have someone to... Yes, before we move the receipt of the minutes, we'll just note that Councillor Johnston is running late and will be with us shortly. He will be here. Councillors, now can I please have someone move receipt and confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 30th of January. Councillor Bunnag, seconded Councillor Burns. Thank you. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. There's no mayoral minute for today, so we move on to item number 6, conflicts of interest and informing them. Councillors, I remind you of the requirements under the Local Government Act 2009, which sets out how councillors' conflicts of interest are managed in local government matters. These requirements apply to how we deal with such matters at this meeting. Should you have a conflict of interest in relation to an agenda item, please raise it at the commencement of that item. Okay, thank you. We move on now to our presentations, and Councillor Dixon has an award to acknowledge, noting we have Kerry Taylor and Edwina Sjogren in attendance to receive this award. Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning through you, Madam Mayor. Good morning to Councillor Johnston. Sunshine Coast Council is a member of the National Government Customer Service Network. Their annual awards were held in Cronulla, New South Wales in November last year, where Council's customer contact team was awarded the prestigious Mystery Shopper Award for 2024. The award recognises outstanding service provided to mystery shoppers over multiple contacts and channels throughout the year. It is also testament to the large investment customer contact make in training and coaching their staff. In 2024, over 1,500 hours was invested in making sure that every interaction is seamless for every customer. The award also recognises each and every customer contact staff member who strives to go above and beyond for each customer every day, and their team leaders who support staff and create a culture of excellence. Council is now regarded and recognised nationally as a leader in front-of-house customer service. As the Mayor said, this morning we have Kerry Taylor and Edwina Sjogren representing customer contact. If they could please come forward. Madam Mayor, if I could quickly also say, and you know this is really easy for me and it's very easy for Councillor Johnston, I think we're so proud of customer service. I know it's a big organisation, I know we have a lot of departments and they're awesome, but customer service just time and time again gets so much positive feedback from the community. Even when I ring up out of the blue to ring people at customer service about an issue because maybe I didn't want to send an email or use the app, I'm driving, just so friendly. Yeah, we've got this, we're onto it, it's in the system. And it was just so easy and just really pleasant. Sometimes I don't even tell them who I am, just I want to do it anonymously. And I get treated with a lot of respect, as do we all. And I think from a community point of view, this council's recognised for customer service more than anything. So congratulations to the team. I'm just so proud of them.
Great. Yeah, you can arrive in time for the photo. Take that to the team as well. Congratulations. It means a lot to all of us. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Dixon, would you like to move receipt of this award? And a seconder, Councillor Johnson. Thank you to you both. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving now to item 8.1, the Quarterly Progress Report, Quarter 2, 2024-25, and we welcome Mr Flanagan to introduce this item. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning, Madam Mayor, councillors and members of the community. Today I present to you for your consideration the Quarterly Progress Report for Quarter 2 of the 24-25 financial year. This report covers the period from 30 September to 31 December of 2024 and informs Council and the community on the progress of implementing the 86 activities which are endorsed through the Council's operational plan for the financial year. Within the report you'll find updates on each of those 86 activities, but now I'll invite the CEO and members of the executive team to provide an update.
Thanks, Luke. And through the chair. So, yes, I too am very pleased to present the quarterly report for 1st of October through to 31st of December. In Quarter 2 of 24 to 25, Council's progressed 93% of the operational plan activities as planned. And the list provides an exception-based report of the 6 activities indicating delays to expected delivery timeframes and or potential budget adjustments, just the 6 activities there. 2 are with the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games activities, and they've been impacted, of course, due to the caretaker period in the lead up to the Queensland State Government elections and, of course, the subsequent 100-day review that we're all watching so closely. The weather has also impacted progress for the Honey Farm Road Sports Complex, and this is on a careful watch plan for delivery around timeframes. The CTCU, the Clounder Transport Corridor project, has been delayed due to a referral to the Environment Protection and Biodiversity team through the Conservation Act 1999, and that does require a controlled action determination. We are hoping that the delays there are going to be in the order of about 3 months, but we're keeping a very close eye on that. Implementation of a large-scale battery energy storage may require a bring forward of funds that are currently scheduled for 25-26 to make the total allocated project budget available in the current year, and then align that to the project delivery timeframes. And finally, the evaluation of tenders for our FOGO, the Food Organics and Garden Organics, has continued, but with time delays due to projects' complexity and some resourcing issues. I'd like to draw your attention to a couple of the many highlights this quarter, and I really would encourage members of the public as well to go through this report. It's an excellent document that outlines a lot of the progress that we're making. The 3 items are a draft Sunshine Coast Stretch Reconciliation Action Plan for 2025 to 2028. That's been developed and submitted to the Reconciliation Australia for review. Also, Council received over $11.8 million in grant funding this quarter from the Queensland and Australian governments. And finally, through the Queensland Government's $2 billion Housing Investment Fund, construction of the prefabricated and manufactured homes for Makula Affordable Housing Project have commenced. Further information, as I say, on all of the 86 activities are available in the operational plan for 24-25, and that's presented in the report. I would now obviously like to thank all of the staff and employees and our colleagues who've contributed to the development of both this report, but also, of course, more importantly than that, the delivery of those services, the projects and activities on a day-to-day basis that are all focused ultimately to make Sunshine Coast a great place to live. I'd now like to invite my colleagues to present to Council their insights into progressing our corporate plan goals during this quarter. So first of all, we'll start with Bill Hadrell, Group Executive for Livability and Natural Assets, who's going to speak to the highlights achieved under our environment and livability goal. Over to you.
Thank you, John, and through you, Madam Mayor. In addition to the number of achievements outlined by the CEO, Q2 saw the delivery of a number of other significant achievements towards our environment livability goal of Council, reinforcing our commitment to continuing setting up our region for the future. Pleased to say that during the quarter, implementation of the Sunshine Coast Ecological Parkland project progressed, with a range of detailed site investigations and technical studies being undertaken to help inform ongoing planning. It was great during the quarter that that project also received a number of recognitions, including national recognition through the Landscape Architecture Award for Landscape Planning at the Australian Institute of Landscape Architects Awards, and was also a finalist at the Parks and Leisure National Awards of Excellence. They are great recognitions that we are on the right track with what it is that we are looking to put in place at the Sunshine Coast Ecological Park. Turning our attention to waste and resource recovery, during the quarter, pleased to advise that Council received a grant of about $350,000 from the Queensland Government's Let's Get It Sorted partnership program, aimed at household waste behaviour change. The program is focused on achieving greater levels of sorting at the source, i.e. in the home, with a view of reducing contamination in our bins and improving the quality of materials available for resource recovery for putting into the circular economy process. And importantly, helping to reduce the amount of waste going into our landfills. During the quarter, and turning our attention to the coastline, Council continued with the planning and approvals processes for a number of seawall construction projects that are in planning within the region. with specific focus on Moffat Beach. Pleased to advise that the Moffat Beach seawall reconstruction plans have now received both their state and council approvals, so that they are great milestones to have achieved. What does this mean? It means that the seawall reconstruction of both the western and central sections of the Moffat Beach seawall will be delivered this calendar year, weather permitting, with an anticipated start date around sort of April, May, again pending the weather. We will, as always, continue to keep our community informed and the local community who have supported us and worked with us along the way around the Moffat Beach seawall as we lead up to commencement and throughout the project. During the quarter, Council also adopted the Biodiversity Report 2024. That was the third edition of the Biodiversity Report, and it provides a pretty impressive snapshot of the state of our biodiversity assets. It helps us to track, amongst other things, the loss or gain of native vegetation, how we are going with the establishment of critical corridors to allow for wildlife movement within the region, and how we're tracking with threatened species management. Also during the quarter, the Sunshine Coast Biosecurity Plan 2024 was adopted. That refreshed document replaced the 2017 version and provides a framework for managing priority invasive plants and animals within the region. The plan helps to focus investment on priority weed and pest management activities, and also includes information to assist landowners with their invasive species management programs. And to wrap up, under the Environment Livability portfolio, I'm pleased to report that stakeholder engagement in preparation and preparations for a range of technical documents to support our planning and progress towards establishing a dark sky reserve within the region continued within the quarter. This project aims to recognise, protect and importantly celebrate our dark skies and presents a significant ecotourism opportunity to help complement the incredible daytime ecotourism experiences that are already available within the region. I'd now like to hand over to Mr Greg Laverty to provide an update on our resilient economy. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, starting with our goal of a resilient economy, where the highlight for the quarter was the announcement by Google that the Nambour submarine cable would land on the Sunshine Coast. The Nambour cable is part of the broader Australia Connect network that will open up new domestic and international digital pathways to and from the Sunshine Coast. The Nambour cable landed by Google will complement existing digital infrastructure, including the JGA submarine cable, the NextDC data centre. It will support the Maroochydore City Centre in its growth as a key investment destination, and it will also open up digital pathways to emerging Pacific markets. Google weren't the only one who decided that Sunshine Coast was a great place to do business during the quarter, with cybersecurity company CyberMerc announcing the Sunshine Coast would be their first location outside Canberra to do business. So that will open up new job opportunities on the Sunshine Coast. Staying with the technology theme, there were more than 130 people attended the Testing Tech in Paradise event held at Altitude 9 with a focus on geospatial intelligence. As we look around the Maroochydore City Centre, we can see development happening at a fairly rapid pace. We have the Maroochydore Private Hospital out in front of us there. The $100 million project will include global orthopaedic leaders Medacta International, as well as the University of the Sunshine Coast, who will open a new 24-bed clinical facility. To our right, we have the Walker Corporation 51st Avenue building that will see 10,000 plus square metres of A-grade office space when it's completed in January 2026. And then behind us during the quarter we had the announcement that the sole residential development worth $220 million had been approved that will deliver 251 additional units to the city centre. The Local Business Support Program provided support and assistance to 244 local businesses. We saw 3 significant events in the annual Thriving Through Change event. We saw the Sunshine Coast Business Awards finalist and masterclass event, as well as the Sunshine Coast Business Awards Gala final event held during the quarter. Guided by the Sunshine Coast Major Events Strategy, there were 12 major events held during the quarter, including cultural and lifestyle events like Sculptures on the Edge, the Big Pineapple Festival and the Sunshine Coast Open Home, as well as large-scale sporting events such as the Australian Rugby Shield. These events were estimated to generate $14.7 million worth of economic benefit for the region and an estimated 23,839 attendees. As well as these major events, there were quite a number of community and grassroots events held across Council's many venues. The Caloundra Indoor Stadium held a regional disability expo, as well as the Queensland Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Championships. Venue 114 welcomed the Sunny Kids' 25th anniversary mayoral ball. We saw the Coaster Bay Christmas party, the TAFE graduation and a variety of school formals. Sunshine Coast Stadium held pop-up polo, the Wishlist K's for Cancer event, Steps annual Christmas party, and as well as monster trucks. Venue 114 hosted the launch of a TV series, a ladies' lunch, various corporate events for Christmas parties, and at different ends of the scales we saw 2 weddings and a 50th wedding anniversary held at Altitude 9. The Maroochydore Multisport held the Queensland AFL Schools Cup final, as well as the week-long AFL Pacific Cup there. And at Nambour we saw Gemfest, Collectorama and a new event in the Army Cadet camp that was held out there. Madam Mayor, turning to our goal of a strong community, during the quarter there was just over $1 million worth of grants provided to our community through 329 grants to community organisations. These were through a variety of council funding programs, including major and minor grants, councillor discretionary funding, the Creative Industry Investment Program, commemorative and festive events, as well as a regional Arts Development Fund. Following an expression of interest process, we've selected 2 new artworks to adorn our new wrap that was mentioned earlier by the CEO. So local Kabi artist Satisha Davis and Aboriginal Torres Strait Island artist Luke Malley will provide those 2 artworks that will fill all the collateral for our wrap, as well as becoming part of the Sunshine Coast Council art collection. The inaugural Young Leaders Academy concluded in November 2024, with some of the key takeaways for participants being the value and the power of listening to lived experience, as well as learning about a community citizen-led approach to leadership. Following interviews and shortlisting, there have been 11 places offered to young people for the 2025 Academy cohort, where the focus will be on the development of a new youth plan, as well as engagement with other young people in our community. On the subject of engagement, there were 11 new community activities that were launched for community consultation during the quarter, as well as a strong focus internally on advancing excellence engagement activities. This included showcasing projects to take the good and the bad learnings from previous projects, as well as the development of guidelines and frameworks to help staff with community engagement work. Council partnered with Spinal Life in the delivery of a realistic race, which was a training program to help both councillors and staff understand the challenges that people with varying disabilities live with in our community every day. Council partnered in the delivery of an event called She Is Not Your Rehab to launch the 16 Days of Activism in November. The event was focused on raising awareness about domestic and family violence, focused particularly on prevention and recovery activities. Council also hosted the Seeds of Hope event at Point Cartwright in December, where a great joint effort between our community, our councillors and our staff saw 500 native trees and shrubs planted to raise awareness about domestic and family violence, to acknowledge the victims of domestic and family violence, but also to deliver a great environmental outcome. And finally, Madam Mayor, what did our customers think of our services and programs? Through 686 surveys across our libraries, creative and arts events and our heritage services, the feedback was pretty strong. They were happy with those services and programs, with 94% of respondents rating them as good to excellent. So I'll hand over now to Ben McGovern to talk more about our strong community.
Thank you, Greg, and through you, Madam Mayor. Following on from Greg, I have some additional highlights for our strong community. Safety to our community is the utmost of importance to Council. The Transport Network Safety Plan 2025 to 2029 provides the framework for improving transport safety access across the Sunshine Coast local government area. The plan, which is now in its final stages of approval, will ensure that planning and management for the transport system is current, consistent and coordinated. The Transport Levy funded Vulnerable Users Program is tracking well, with 10 pathway projects now scheduled for completion by the end of the financial year. More than 54,000 dogs are registered in our region, increasing to 80,000 by 2046. The Dog Exercise Area Regional Plan and Network Blueprint draft has been developed, and the community can have their say in our online surveys and pop-up sessions across the region. This process will remain open until March 7th. Moving on to service excellence now, which I share with my colleague Deb Robinson. Our service to the region includes maintenance to roads, stormwater and parks and gardens for the safety and enjoyment of our community. The maintenance tasks are always high in variety and volume. However, I feel like this is a good opportunity to reflect on one team and perhaps a fun fact that is performing exceptionally well at the moment, and that's our potholing team. They have filled over 15,000 potholes in the last 12 months, including 5,000 in the last quarter alone. In addition, our civil operations teams have removed more than 800 trip hazards, repaired almost 7,000 square metres of our pathways and replaced 400 square metres of pathways. Our parks and gardens teams, manage the equivalent of 933 NRL football fields for each mowing cycles across the region. They're not parks and jungles. So approximately 3,500 sites are serviced within a 2-week time frame. This is an incredible effort considering the rain and the heat conditions we have experienced here across our Queensland summer. Council have now completed 100% of the 5,400 programmed works or tasks and completed 14 of the 15 landslip projects for the Queensland Reconstruction Authority project. The final landslip is scheduled to be completed by the 30th of June this year. As we come to a close on this 3-year project, we can reflect on the $57 million invested into our region for repair and betterment for improved resilience across our areas. As Cyclone Alfred builds off the coast of Queensland, it's important to remind everyone to organise their get-ready kits at home. See the Council's Disaster Hub website for a full checklist. I will now hand over to Deb Robinson, who will continue the service excellence highlights.
Thank you, Ben, and through you, Madam Mayor. It is my pleasure to be here today to share an update on Council's Service Excellence portfolio. Proudly, I'm able to report that we are making progress in our goal to improve our customers' experience with Council services. During Q2, Council has continued to improve service at the first point of contact. A total of 943 surveys were completed during this period with an overall rating for Council of 7.1 out of 10, our highest rating so far, and certainly exceeding our annual target. Our survey also asks our community to indicate the level of trust that they have with Council, that Council will act in their best interests. This quarter, the rating improved from 6.9 to 7.01, a step in the right direction. We also heard this morning from Councillor Dixon that Council's customer contact team was awarded the prestigious National Local Government Customer Service Network Mystery Shopper Award for 2024, recognising the outstanding service over multiple contacts throughout the year. What a great achievement, and well done to the team. I would also like to note the following achievements within this portfolio. The Ballinger Cemetery Master Plan 2024 was endorsed by Council in December, with the plan considering modern cemetery design, changing community needs and opportunities for complementary services to be provided on our cemetery sites. The Housing and Homelessness Action Plan Update 2024 was released publicly on Council's website on the 18th of December 2024 and summarises the range of activities undertaken by Council to date. The design guide for the Sunshine Coast apartment and townhouses was launched also in December 2024, with the design guide now available on Council's website for all those looking to invest in the region and to do new design product. And finally, 147,296 litres of illegally dumped waste was identified and removed this quarter. This is a significant increase of 210% when compared to Q1 24-25 and included a total of 72 successful compliance outcomes being achieved, with the persons responsible being required to remove their dump waste. This is a great outcome, not only for Council but also for our community. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Service Excellence Portfolio Councillors, Councillors Dixon and Councillor Johnson, our Council team members and our business partners for their dedication and the way in which they work to support our community. I look forward to advising on our Service Excellence progress and achievements again next quarter. I'd now like to hand over to Acting Group Executive Business Performance, Judy Bailey, to provide an update on the outstanding organisation portfolio. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Deborah, and good morning, councillors. Q2 saw us receive over 1,100 applications for My Summer Interns, with 23 amazing interns being appointed to work across 5 branches in a range of areas, including digital information services, wellbeing, health and safety, arts, heritage and libraries, project delivery and environmental operations. The people plan is progressing, so stakeholder consultation is about to commence. Health, safety and wellbeing initiatives are tracking well, with the Critical Control Management Project ahead of schedule and Safety Contractor Management Project Plan endorsed for implementation. The team have focused on psychosocial training, particularly in the field. Progress has been made against all 5 action areas of the Smart City Framework and Implementation Plan 24 to 27, smart technologies, telecommunications, data-driven decision-making and the solutions pipeline. Specific achievements against these areas for the quarter include working with Greg and the team on securing the second international submarine cable, advanced technologies and artificial intelligence. Our customer service avatar, Laura, was installed. I've seen you playing with her, Councillor Tim, in several locations, including the City Hall reception area. Maybe even you, Madam Mayor. This trial is seeking to showcase how AI through an avatar can further enhance our customer service experience. Data-driven decision-making, counts of anonymised vehicles, people, bikes and dogs reached over 3.561 million in total for Q2. This data is informing grant applications, budget requests, policy and operational service delivery. Solutions pipeline, we have reached 98 operational solutions. This includes evaluating, aggregating of Internet of Things, procurement to reduce vendors' cost, improve security and provide expanded data access. Q2 also saw the adoption of Budget Review 2 as spoken to by the CEO. The digital plan implementation has progressed this quarter and highlights include Council cyber security programs supporting zero reportable cyber security breaches, rationalising duplicate or redundant services supporting Council's financial sustainability targets, a 2-year property and rating program streamlining over 360 business processes, improving the customer experience for the community with a view to full implementation by 2026. Delivery of an improved Sunshine Coast mobile application with features like bin bay reminders, streamlined service requests and the ability to review and support previously reported issues. Provided new voice capability in caravan parks and expanded public Wi-Fi to new sites for the community, including Coolum, Civic Centre, Bell Vista Meeting Place, Venue 114, Kawana Community Hall, Kawana Island Meeting Place and Biwa Community Hall. Delivery of a new artificial intelligence policy and framework for council incorporating a new AI co-pilot web, which some of you have been playing with, as a standard service capability across council. Implementation plans have been created and an AI chatbot to assist councillors and liaison officers was piloted. Completed a successful web redesign, improving usability and accessibility. So thank you again. Also to Councillors Hungerford and to Councillors Broderick who work beautifully with us to make our team as successful as we are. I'll now hand over to my fellow executive, Megan.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning, Council, and through you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present civic governance contributions towards our outstanding organisation goal for Q2. I'll briefly highlight our key achievements and ongoing initiatives that demonstrate our commitment to organisational excellence. During the quarter, the analysis of Council's service architecture progressed, including reviewing the legislative mandate and associated costs for each activity of Council. This work will assist to catalogue service levels and budget investments and inform future service reviews. Following extensive benchmarking, we developed a draft organisational excellence strategy for the CEO's consideration. This strategy informed the Corporate Plan 2025-2030, which will be presented to Council for consideration at today's meeting. The Audit Committee met on the 10th of February and the 24-25 internal audit program continues, with 2 reviews in the reporting stage, 3 in field work and 4 in planning. Our advocacy campaign focused on the 2024 Queensland State Government election secured funding commitments for the direct Sunshine Coast rail to Maroochydore by 2032, the Caloundra Transport Corridor upgrade and the Turbine Food and Beverage Manufacturing Precinct. During Q2, there were 35 external funding partnerships announced, with Council having 22 successful applications, totalling $11.8 million. We submitted 12 applications during the quarter, with 31 under development or pending announcement. Our legal services team supported the effective management of legal risks and statutory compliance, opening 102 new legal matters and closing 99, excluding planning appeals and QCAT matters. Our Ethical Standards branch reviewed allegations of corrupt conduct and code of conduct breaches, maintaining consistent timing for case finalisation. 9 administrative action complaints were finalised, which was a decrease of 4 from last quarter. We also received 19 right to information applications. The team also reviewed the strategic policy for administrative complaints, which will also be presented for Council's consideration later at today's ordinary meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our executives there for that presentation. Councillors, someone to move the motion of this item? Councillor, have I missed something? No. Councillor Hungerford? Seconded, Councillor Broderick. Okay, thank you. Councillor Hungerford.
Through you, Madam Mayor. A lot's been covered here today and there's a lot more in here to go. The community can actually be confident in what we're delivering every quarter. This is an outstanding report. The highlights for me are 329 community grant applications being awarded for the quarter, allocating more than $1 million to our community groups. 25,719 tonnes of greenhouse gases flared or combusted, resulting in 1,542 kilowatt hours of electricity. We're taking a waste and turning it into a positive. 77% of the available procurement spend goes to our local businesses. This equates to over $96 million, supporting our local business, our local community. 6,630 hectares of our landscaping garden beds, and that includes our parks that are mowed. And our crews have always had, when we've got sustained rain and wet weather, the difficulty of keeping up on that. And they've done a magnificent job. So there's about 1,500 hectares just in that alone. That has to be mowed continuously. And has been stated before, we have 1,954 full-time equivalent employees. These are the people that make it happen. And we're very fortunate to have such dedicated staff who are committed to our community in delivering these things. We can do the strategic headway there and make it available. They're the people that make it happen. We're very fortunate to have that. Again, the quarterly reports are always outstanding. And our community become confident in what this council is producing for its ratepayers and delivering out there for our services to make it a better place to live. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Councillor Landsberg.
Thank you, through the Chair. And also I'd like to just obviously welcome Mayor Marcus to the Chamber as well. Welcome. Thank you. And obviously, I just want to touch on the progress report, and to the staff, I think it's a wonderful achievement. Lots of great outcomes here that we discuss and we deliver from all our different portfolios. And yeah, I'm sure that we work extremely hard with our council staff and across the whole chamber. But I do want to just touch on a couple of items here through the chair. And obviously, it's good to see obviously the Caloundra Transport Corridor project make the front page of the quarterly progress report, because I constantly ask about updates and where it sits. And as we look through the timeframes of this project, it has been a long time. And just to take the chamber on a little bit of a journey for this project, initially started planning in 2013. And part of that whole process was to look at a dedicated corridor to open up the Caloundra CBD to Nicklin Way and offer an alternative access into town, obviously as part of the Caloundra Road. We know how congested that road is, and also the amount of traffic coming in through our beachside suburbs. We went into 2019, 2022 with a concept design, and obviously we initiated the resumption of properties that were resumed. Obviously the construction of the road had been delayed. The demolition of the properties was finalised. And then we initiated a stakeholder interest group to look at the impact of this road and the corridor through, obviously, not only stage 2 through Ben Bennett Park, but also stage 1. And there was significant input from many community representatives on that group, and which was some wonderful outcomes, really good outcomes from the community in regards to the flora and fauna impacts. And I acknowledge the teams that were involved in engaging with our communities. But to stand here today and obviously note that the project's been delayed as being elevated as a matter of national environmental significance, to me as a councillor is concerning in regards to the process along the whole journey. Not once during those discussions with the SIG group was an MNES raised in regards to that impact. I'm not aware of it coming up in relation to, because this is a combined project, there's a signed MOU with TMR for stage 2 to deliver the road through to Nicklin Way, and that wasn't raised in those discussions with TMR. And as well as a consultant that was taken on board for this road, didn't elevate the need for this. And I have in front of me here the application for the MNES, obviously, that we fill out. And I just want to touch on a comment which is obviously is part of the process, because it's a self-assessment process to fill out the MNES. You have to actually fill out the application and show the needs of why it should be elevated as a matter of national environmental significance. And back in June 2023, for threatened flora, I just read word for word, no conservation significant species under the EPBC Act were identified within the proposed action footprint during the ecological field survey conducted in June 2023. I also refer to another line item. No threatened fauna species were identified within the proposed action footprint during the ecological field assessment conducted in June 2023. And then obviously to find out as well as late as yesterday, as I wasn't aware that as an MNES and a controlled action, it not only initiates that action for stage 2, but it's for the whole project, stage 1 and 2. So in respect, I know obviously our new CEO was only taken on the role on the 16th of December, so there's been a long journey to get to where we are, and I obviously acknowledge the input from the CEO and staff to address obviously and try and move this forward as quickly as possible. And I do hope that the federal government look at this project very favourably and obviously give us the approvals for this road, because we have seen significant cost escalations in this project. And we've already seen a commitment from the obviously incoming state government as an election commitment of $14 million to contribute to the $7 million already put on the table by TMR. So you're looking at $21 million. But we know that stage 2 has gone well over that price too. And my concern is, will this become a cost to our ratepayers as well? And this road also has to meet significant environmental and sustainability targets. And I question the role of some of these projects that we deliver. Will it become a financial burden to our ratepayers to deliver roads, especially roads, to this sort of level of...
Councillor
Sorry.
Would you like an extension of time?
Yes, please.
Yes. Councillor Johnston, seconded Councillor Hungerford. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you,
Through the
Councillor.
Chair. I'll wrap it up really quickly, Madam Mayor. Look, there's really not too much more for me to say about that, just to express my concerns not only to this chamber but to our community of the importance of delivering this road as quickly as possible. We sit in this chamber and talk about public transport and improving connectivity and upgrading our roads, and this is a project that we should be delivering as quickly as possible. And as part of the upgrade to the Nicklin Way Caloundra Road roundabout, it cannot be upgraded until this road is delivered as an alternative access into Caloundra. And just one other thing I'd just like to touch on as well, Madam Mayor, is the funding. Obviously, we've looked at approval funding for the Moffat Beach seawall for the middle section and the western section, which was approved during our previous budget in June 2024. I do still raise concerns around we do not have any funding for the eastern section of the wall. And if we have to deliver this reconstruction of the seawall over 2 consecutive financial years, the impact to the accessibility for Moffats, obviously the process, and we've just touched on a project that's gone way over budget in terms of cost escalations. If Moffat Beach seawall could be delivered as one project for the whole wall, I think you'd find that we would save our ratepayers a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you to everybody. This is a huge report, Luke and his team, for putting it together and for everybody that's been involved in it. We've been really busy, so I'd just encourage, a lot of it has been covered already, but I'd really encourage the public to get in there and have a look at the snapshot, because some of those figures are really impressive. Just before I move on, I do have a question though, if that's okay for Judy, because one of the exciting things that you talked about was we had over 1,100 applications and 23 interns. Could you tell us a little bit about what that project is and how it works? And is that an annual thing that people can be involved in next year? Is that okay? Thank you.
Judy Bailey, our Group Executive, is going to come to the microphone to answer that one. Thank you, Judy.
I'll give you the short explanation. But we work with the university, put out an ad to get graduates or undergraduates to come and work with us. The areas put in an application, these people come in at a level 1. They are amazing because they have a very different view of work and life, because they're young, to what a lot of us are. And so therefore, you know, there's 11 of them in the technology area, and they have been very much included in and the result of some of our really amazing apps that have been developed. Some years the interns do get to be permanent in the role. There is a video that DIS have done, which I'll circulate to you, where they've interviewed the interns. So we bring them in, we spend quite a bit of time mentoring them. We follow their journey through and find out how they're going and what they're learning. And the one thing that I took away from last year was that some of them actually changed their course and their majors or their study, because actually when they came and worked in the workplace, they found that there was another area of interest for them. So it's just a beautiful thing that we do with the community, gives them an insight to council, and we benefit hugely. They're paid level 1. They're pretty amazing. So at the moment we've extended around about 4 or 5 of them for another 3 months, just to help us get through. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Bailey. Back to you, Councillor Broderick.
Thank you. I just thought that was a really important thing to highlight. Look, there's lots in there I can highlight, and I know that other people want to speak. But yes, we too have been enjoying trialling out all the AI and Copilot and all the things that we've got. So of course, you know, the plug for the app. But the great thing actually about the app is, and on our website as well, is the accessibility that we've put on there. So that has become really popular as well. So people that are that are visually impaired, said, or having issues with being able to access our Have Your Say sites and things like that, that is now easier, and we're finding people are using that service, so that's really exciting. So please jump in, have a look. Thank you to all of our incredible staff, and I know Councillor Ted has already highlighted, but there has been a lot of mowing, and I know I have personally put in a lot of requests about that. So across the entire council, I wanted to say thank you for all the hard work, because we have been submitting a significant amount of service requests, and council and our workers and our contractors really have been following those up quite quickly. And I just wanted to let you know how appreciative I am, and Division 1 particularly are, of that, because it's really noticeable. So thank you for all your hard work, both in this report and across the board.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to acknowledge that much of this work was undertaken under the stewardship of the Acting CEO, Deborah Robinson, and so just wanted to acknowledge that your leadership in that last quarter, and also the officers who stood in to Deborah's place when she was Acting CEO as well, particularly Shanna Jacobs, as well as everybody else. Excuse me. I will just speak to the ELS section of the report. One landslip remains. We had a number of landslips across the region during the 2022 flooding event or rain event, and First Bay at Coolum Beach is the last project to be rectified there. It's a very complex project, and similar to, I guess, Councillor Landsberg's discussion about his Caloundra infrastructure project, it's a complex one that requires a lot of reports and prior to doing any work, and that's why it's the last one remaining. There are some traffic disruptions, and we're aiming for completion of that one by the end of June. For the broader community, the new planning scheme is still at its state interest review area at the moment, and that's ongoing. So I just urge the community to keep their eyes and ears open for when that report comes back to council and we get to go out to community consultation, because I think that's something that the majority of our population should pay attention to. We had some placemaking activities. Lorraine Avenue in Marcoola and the Yamundi Streetscape have commenced, with other locations across the region in design phase. And battery energy storage is the next step in providing more benefits and maximising the use of our solar farm facility. So I'm looking forward to us moving ahead in that area. And then finally, the only environmental topic that I'll talk about is the biodiversity report, and just give a shout out to Councillor Tim Burns, who did a podcast recently and shared the link with myself and a few others in council. It was a really great podcast if you've got a spare 53 minutes of your life to spare. I just wanted to say it is a complex report. The numbers don't quite make sense sometimes, and Councillor Burns did a commendable job in explaining that in simple terms to our broader community. So well done, Councillor Burns.
Thanks, Councillor Suarez and Councillor Burns for that. Councillor Bunnag.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Mayor, and good morning, everyone. I just wanted to reflect on some great things that have been happening in our strong community portfolio space, but particularly in Division 8. And I would first like to share a reflection that I had. We had the opportunity to go along to some training yesterday, and we had a great presenter, Mr. Kerry Neal. And one of the slides that he presented was around a picture with some words on it, and he asked us to tell us what the words on the picture were, and half of us didn't notice that there were words on there. And it was a good reminder to me to not get distracted from the big picture. And there's lots of little pieces to a picture and to a document or a story that add up to a bigger picture. And I want to take people in the chamber and also online, I guess, on a big picture journey through a series of small projects that are happening in Division 8 on a road trip to talk to you about how the work that's been done in the quarterly progress report is adding to the big picture of incremental progress for a stronger community in our region. So if I start at Ocean Street, which is absolutely looking like a new shining light at the moment. It was last quarter that we confirmed the plans for Ocean Street, the design that has been in the works for many, many years, and I do want to pay tribute to my predecessor, Jason O'Prey, for the work that he did with the traders in trying to get that area looking a bit sharper. We've now got the funding and we're delivering that, but there has been a long bit of history in terms of planning for that, and that's what happened in the last quarter. If you stay in Ocean Street, under the Transport Levy and the initiative that we've had, we have now been investing in doing research onto activating nighttime buses to get people home in a more safe manner. We know, and we've heard from the University of the Sunshine Coast for their research on the nighttime economy, and from traders in Ocean Street, that getting people from Ocean Street in the early hours of the morning is so important. So it's been fantastic to see the work that our team has been doing in that space to try and get those buses going, and I'm looking forward to seeing them up and running in the near future. If you then head a little bit further north, or I guess maybe it might be west, into Wright Street in Maroochydore, I know this is not a very sexy topic, but I'm going to make stormwater sexy, because ultimately we have so many drainage deficient areas on the Sunshine Coast, and in particular in Division 8, and it's something that I've heard consistently from residents about concerns about stormwater management. So we have done so much work in terms of doing proactive CCTV work in our piping systems to work out where we have drainage deficient areas. In Wright Street at the end of last year, even with significant wet weather, we're able to completely upgrade the stormwater system on the intersection of Anzac Ave and Wright Street, which will mean that those houses have better flood immunity going into the future. If we then head up the motorway, across the river, head onto the David Lowe Way, and then head down Ocean Drive into Twin Waters, Ben McGovern talked about the fact that this council has been investing in repairing some of our trip and fall hazards in communities. And one of those communities is in Twin Waters. Along Lakeside Drive, I went for a walk with some residents from the Twin Waters Residents Association and the maintenance committee there, and they were really concerned about the historical tripping hazards that had been, I guess, left to rot, the timber inserts. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, we had excavators out there ripping up the whole bloody pathway. And to their surprise, we replaced 60 metres of that with new concrete aggregate. So the reality is, it's the little things in places like Twin Waters that add up to make a big difference to the big picture. If you then had further up, Councillor Suarez made reference to the fact that in Lorraine Avenue, we've just completed a brand new streetscape, which will tie into the work that will happen one day in Felix Parry Park. And it's been great to see so many people enjoying that space and opening that up. And we look forward to seeing what the Markoola night markets can do in that space on a Friday night. And the final thing that I want to make reference to, which is an absolute big picture thing, but it makes a massive difference to individuals, is the Markoola Affordable Housing Project. Last night on the news, there was a story about this project. And I'm not sure I'm going to actually call it news, because the reality is we do hit bumps on certain projects from time to time. But we don't make decisions and we don't pursue these sorts of projects for people who are comfortably in their homes thinking that this is a bad thing. The reality is what we are doing is focusing on people who need housing support in our region. I know that there are people in places like Markoola who have raised concerns with me about this project, and that's okay, I recognise their concerns. But the reality is, when you go to somewhere like St Peter's Anglican Church around the corner and you see families having to queue up to get food, when you see families who are at P&Cs who contribute to the community but are scared about having housing affordability and having a roof over their head, from my perspective, we don't have a choice but to try and provide those people with housing. So we'll continue to work collaboratively with the community as part of a bigger picture on projects like Markoola and throughout the region.
Thank you, Councillor Bunnag. Councillor Burns.
Thanks, through you, Madam Mayor. Do concur, just very deep gratitude to the staff for all the things that have been contributed through the last quarter, through the corporate plan. It is always staggering. The one thing I wanted to point out, which is a little bit of a favourite of mine, is the street tree implementation plan that we've got going on across the coast. I think in the quarter it says we've planted 739 new street trees across the region, which is pretty exceptional. The reason I love these things is, one, they just make our streets look a whole lot better, but two, they're actually doing a whole lot of heavy lifting in terms of giving us mitigation against the future climate heat impacts of climate change. The more trees we have, the more canopy, the more green space we have, the cooler we become. and it actually makes our region more livable. It's a critical element. And so for residents who are seeing little white dots on their gutters out the front of their house, if you're wondering what they are, it'll be generally for that street trees are going to get planted there. You have opportunity to engage with the team who are doing that work, and you can actually look at the different options for street trees in your area and become a custodian of those trees to ensure that your area is going to look flash into the future, but also be cooler because of it. These are important things. So I would really encourage our residents to continue to work with council to protect them, because they will make our region better into the future. A couple of other things I did note too, the great work that council's been doing with artificial intelligence, and thanks to Judy for sharing that, and that I potentially have had a connection with Laura, our artificial intelligent robot. I would just suggest that Laura does need to learn some social skills, because Laura, I'm not going to talk to you every time I'm walking past. That's just not possible. And to the podcast that Councillor Suarez mentioned, it's more important to note the work of Alicia Keating, who's a local resident who does a lot of work in our environmental space, who has that We Grow podcast, and the work she's doing is exceptional. So thanks to Alicia for that. But lastly, I do just want to also make a point in regards to our Olympic infrastructure and just some of the delays that we have in terms of delivering on that. I would like our community just to hear clearly that this council is committed to really ensuring the best community legacy outcomes for sporting infrastructure for them, that actually we recognise the opportunity that the Olympics provides for us, and that we are ready and willing to work constructively and in a cooperative manner with our state, federal counterparts, the AOC and the IOC, to ensure that the Sunshine Coast Council area is delivered the best infrastructure it can possibly get, that will see our community well positioned into the future, that sees support for our fledgling and future sporting stars. And so for the team who are working in that space, Grantley and Stacey and all those guys really recognise the amount of effort and time that you've put into that over the years, and I appreciate your patience and professionalism and following through in a systematic and careful way to see the Sunny Coast have the Olympics infrastructure delivered that it deserves in the spaces and ways that will actually benefit our community to the future. So thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks staff for all your work.
Thanks, Councillor Burns. Councillor Law.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Wishing to speak in support of this quarterly report and everything that is contained in it, and really carrying on in that theme of a strong community. And the reason that the council exists is for our community. And all of the work that is done is for our community. And without our community, actually, there's no work to be done. If there were no people here, there's nothing to be done. So we are here to work for, on behalf of our community, and we will make the best possible decisions we can with the information in front of us at the point in time of making those decisions. And the report captures the outcomes of all of those decisions, sometimes things that have been taking a very long time to actually get underway and to make happen. And we've heard a little bit about those things today. But one thing that often occurs to me is we make the best decision at the time that we make the decision, but then in a few months' time or a few years' time, we might realise that we may have screwed up and made a really dumb decision. But that doesn't mean that everything else we did was a dumb decision. It just means we got something wrong, and we'll do our best to fix it up and do better next time. But when I think about this report and I think about our strong community, one of the biggest issues at the moment is homelessness. Homelessness being a lack of housing, and the work that has happened over a long time to make a difference in that space for our community today. The homelessness problem is something that has been generated since the 1970s, and what I would argue on another day and time, because this isn't the right time, but has been the result of successive decisions that when I look back I can see, geez, what a lot of dumb decisions have happened there that have resulted in the housing and homelessness crisis we have right now today. Having recognised that we've got a problem today, created over probably the last 50 years, not the last 5 minutes, we've done a lot of work to make a difference, and the Housing and Homelessness Action Plan is starting to demonstrate the difference we've been able to make as a council to make housing happen. So I'll just share a couple of examples from the quarter that reflect the whole of last year, in fact, where over 260 secondary dwellings have been approved to provide homes in that situation of a secondary dwelling across the Sunshine Coast. That is a significant uplift on what we were doing in the previous 4 years. And that's because we've helped people with information, we've helped homeowners who've got space on their property to build a secondary dwelling which houses another person or family. And whether it's a family member or someone else, it doesn't really matter. It means someone else is housed and is safe with a roof over their head. Such an important thing. The state government made changes to rooming accommodation. We've helped our community understand what that means. And I have seen the first development application for a specifically built building, I don't know what you call it, but it is specifically there as rooming accommodation. I've seen the first one. It's a great thing to happen. And as Councillor Taylor mentioned, the Markula project, where we are working in collaboration with other levels of government to provide 22 homes. Absolutely outstanding outcome. So these are the things, they take a long time to achieve, but they are the little pieces that make a strong community today. But when I think of the number of people who are currently living without a home, who are sleeping rough on a couch, in very cramped conditions, a family in a bedroom, we have got still an awful lot to do, and that will require us to work with other levels of government because they're the ones who are actually responsible for this. We're responsible for some of the stuff on the ground, and we've made the differences where we can. But we need to make sure we get more and more to happen in line with the responsibilities of a local government. My final comment will be about our grants program. We heard that we delivered over $1 million in grants in the quarter. One of the most important things where we support our strong community, because every single dollar is magnified probably over 100 times for that dollar actual value as we enable our organisations through their volunteers to deliver for the community. So I commend this and our future work that we will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, I just want to clarify one comment that Councillor Law just made. You talked about the terrible decisions that were made over the last number of years. I just want to clarify that they're not terrible decisions made by this council. They're decisions made by state government and federal governments. And very clear because there's so much confusion out there at the moment. People think that a lot of these problems, macroeconomic issues that we're facing, the social problems that are stem from that, from decisions that are made from other levels of government, are now impacting our community more than ever before. So I want to be very clear that when people listen to what you just said, they know not to attribute those bad decisions to this council, but to other levels of government that have to step up. Because I am facing so many of our residents asking me to fix those problems, and I'm so limited with my capacity to be able to do that, but dealing with state issues seems to be a norm for me at the moment, and it's because of those bad decisions that were made over the last number of decades.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Law.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Happy to answer that, but I will answer it very briefly because, as I mentioned when I highlighted those things, this is not relevant to the quarterly report we're discussing today. It was merely a very clear statement that there have been a lot of decisions over the last 50 years, in my view, absolutely by other levels of government. But we need to remember that those other levels of government are voted for by our whole population. So, in fact, we are all responsible for voting in those particular governments who made those particular decisions at that particular time. And very simply, yes, it is about, in the 1970s, when social housing stopped to be an activity of the governments of the day. In the 1970s, social housing made up for something like 25% of all housing stock. Today, we know on the Sunshine Coast, social housing is less than 2%, 1.5% social housing on the coast. And we have been kicking and fighting to get the government to deliver social housing on the Sunshine Coast, and perhaps it's just starting to emerge. Because had I spoke a little bit longer before, I could have mentioned all of the social and affordable housing projects that have been delivered, not necessarily directly by the government, but the government have funded it, and they have provided organisations like Coaster Bay
Councillor,
and
are
many
you
others to deliver
answering the
social...
question?
I think I am answering the question, yes. That it's the other levels of government that I'm being very clear about and how that is impacting and reflecting on what we're doing. So 25% of the housing market was delivered by government in the 1970s. Today, it's insignificant, and that has created this really bizarre thing called a market where houses are no longer homes, they are commodities to generate personal wealth. So when a house is a home again, we've got a good option. So I could go on and on and on about the decisions of the other levels of government around their policies and practices that have led to this current crisis we have, but it is not appropriate because it's not about our Q2 report. But I hope that has helped Councillor Joe, when he's talking to the members of the public, to allocate responsibility appropriately where it is meant to be. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Law. Any other councillors to speak on the quarterly report? Councillor Hungerford, would you like to close?
Through you, Madam Mayor. What's clear in this is our residents can be confident they're getting good value for their rate dollar. And more importantly, our over 1,900 employees can have pride in their contribution to making this happen each time, because without them it wouldn't happen. I want them to know that we appreciate their efforts and we look forward to that continuing effort into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Mr Flanagan. We will move now to item 8.2 and you'll provide a presentation on that. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning again, Madam Mayor, councillors and members of the community. In that last report, we were looking back at some of the great things happening for the community. This next report is about making sure that we continue to keep a focus on the future as well. So I'm pleased to present to you for your consideration the corporate plan that covers the 5-year period between 2025 and 2030. The document, as per your packs, outlines the vision for the region, as well as the goals and strategic priorities to advance it. It will guide, if adopted, it will guide our priorities across the next 5 years, which then get embedded in our annual planning processes, our resourcing and budgeting decisions, and will become the basis of future reporting to the community. In developing the corporate plan, there has been significant analysis of community engagement, not just over recent times, but over the past 2 years. This has included insights that have been gathered through our 3 regional strategies, the community strategy, environment and livability strategy, regional economic development strategy, as well as significant engagement of over 9,000 bits of feedback as part of the Sunshine Coast Planning Scheme first round of engagement. In addition, we have analysed the community satisfaction survey that was conducted as part of the corporate plan development back in August 2024, as well as the Community Connection Survey and the Living on the Sunshine Coast surveys that are conducted at regular intervals, which is really important because they provide an illustration of how community expectations and priorities may change over time. Through the analysis of these 7 key themes, 7 key themes were identified that have been consistently raised by the community. These themes have been incorporated into the development of the corporate plan presented to you today. These themes include challenges being experienced across our community, such as the increased cost of living, affordable housing and homelessness, as well as providing a focus on opportunities such as more integrated transport networks, easing traffic congestion, and providing viable public and active transport options. Supporting sustainable growth through good planning, design, and access to public infrastructure. Protecting and enhancing the natural environment from our beaches on the coast to the hinterland and all the green connections in between. Maintaining the livability of the region by building better resilience to climate impacts, designing green and cool neighbourhoods, and providing access to sports and community facilities. An innovative and diverse economy that provides opportunities for all, and good council governance that provides opportunities to participate in community engagement, that delivers affordable service that community need and provides positive customer experiences. With this in mind, Council recognises that many of the challenges and opportunities these themes present are beyond the role of Council alone, and that partnerships across all tiers of government and industry are critical to deliver on the critical success factors of the region's aspirations. With this in mind, within the corporate plan, you will see that each priority is supported by a role, providing clarity when Council's role is to deliver, facilitate, partner, advocate, regulate, or a combination of the above. The Corporate Plan 25-30 establishes the vision for the region as well as the 5 goals that set the blueprint for the next 5 years. At the top, our vision as Australia's most sustainable region has been maintained, however, has been informed by community engagement themes to evolve with a focus on 3 new underpinning principles. They are connected, livable, thriving. The 3 regional goals illustrated below this have been informed by the 3 long-term strategies, our regional strategies, providing a balanced approach to sustainability that incorporates a strong community, where communities thrive through connection with people, places and spaces, environment and livability, where our natural assets are preserved and enhanced as we continue to create a built environment that supports a sustainable community, a resilient economy, where a high-value economy of choice drives business performance, investment and employment choices. Underpinning the 3 regional goals is a new goal, managing for growth. This provides an enhanced focus on connecting urban and transport planning to maintain our region's unique characteristics and supporting sustainable development. Then at the base, establishing the foundations to deliver on the vision and the goals mentioned above is a new organisational excellence goal. This provides a focus on being an agile organisation that achieves high performance by being community-centred, building trust and providing a great place to work. Together, these goals and their supporting priorities outline the pathways to achieve the vision as Australia's most sustainable region, connected, livable, thriving. The timing of presenting the corporate plan to you today is important, as if adopted, it will be used to shape the development of the annual operational plan and budget for the 25-26 year, and this will occur over the coming months. This essentially sets the priorities for the first year of the corporate plan so that it commences implementation from 1 July 2025. Each year, this annual operational plan and budget process considers changes in our operating environment and the resources available to establish the priority services, programs and projects for delivery of that financial year. The adopted corporate and operational plan then become the basis for the quarterly and annual reports to provide as updates to the community to monitor our progress and enable Council to continue to plan, monitor, adapt and adjust priorities where required with a focus on delivering the things that matter most to our community at that time. Councillors, the corporate plan presented to you today meets all statutory requirements. It incorporates community engagement feedback as well as the valuable inputs from Council through the development process. It has been shaped by our regional strategies to keep an eye on the future, but providing a focus for the Sunshine Coast Council over the next 5 years. Councillors, I would now present to you the Corporate Plan 25-30.
Thank you, Mr Flanagan. Councillors, I will move this motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Suarez. As Mayor of the Sunshine Coast, I join with my fellow councillors today to present the Sunshine Coast Council Corporate Plan 2025 to 30. This is a very proud and exciting moment for our council team. We've worked with great focus and determination over many months to bring you a corporate plan that reflects our shared vision for the region and the things that our community has told us are important for them and us now and into the future. We have an ambitious agenda to deliver the priorities in this corporate plan over the next 5 years to achieve our bold vision as Australia's most sustainable region. This vision can only be achieved through a connected community of residents, businesses and governments working together in a livable region where our unique natural assets and built environment work together in harmony, where we are thriving through a diverse economy and culture that supports sustainable development and quality lifestyle for all. That's why our vision has evolved to contain the principles: connected, livable, thriving. These are not just words. These are the drivers behind everything we do as we work together towards a sustainable future for the Sunshine Coast and its people. At the centre of this plan is our community, the people we are here to serve, the place we are here to protect and preserve. It's a privilege to be Mayor of this great region, and an even greater privilege for this council and the councillors gathered in this chamber today to serve the people of the Sunshine Coast, to ensure we are providing the services we need, when and how we need them, and the initiatives that advance our vision for the future. It was with great effort and intent that we considered a range of channels through which our community had provided feedback. About 17,000 responses across a range of platforms that have informed the corporate plan that we present to you today. One of the consistent themes raised by our community is population growth and the potential impacts on the Sunshine Coast way of life that we all cherish. With the Sunshine Coast expected to increase in population to over 500,000 people by 2041, we have put a spotlight on the challenges and the opportunities that this presents, represented through a new, clear goal in our corporate plan, clearly defined: managing for growth. This provides a sharp focus on well-planned transport, strategic land use, effective asset management. This provides a clear message to the members of our community that we are managing this Sunshine Coast for the growth that is coming our way. It is indeed a priority, a commitment to get it right. To effectively manage growth, we need to work with all levels of government and industry to deliver the infrastructure our region needs. We're committed to doing this sustainably through well-designed neighbourhoods and infrastructure, an integrated transport network that connects our people and our products to where they need to go. Our corporate plan recognises the critical role the Australian and Queensland governments play in providing much-needed funding and support for our region, and we will continue to advocate for better roads and infrastructure, our Olympics infrastructure, and all of this which is imperative for the well-being of our communities. We know we can achieve more together. Through our partnerships with governments at all levels, we can better support our community, volunteers, businesses and industry here on the Sunshine Coast. Alongside good planning and effective partnership comes incredible responsibility in managing our budgets. This plan is an important part of our budget development process, where we make informed decisions on spending of public money and ensure we are transparent in our practices to balance affordability for our community while maintaining the levels of service and investments our regions need and deserve. This means we need to consider how and what we do differently, and to keep our attention on innovation, productivity and considered planning to advance our vision and goals in an efficient and effective way. I have trust in our organisation to deliver excellence and remain agile and flexible, ready to adjust to what we do and how we do it to remain community-centred and realise opportunities to stay true to our vision as Australia's most sustainable region, connected, livable, thriving. We have a shared passion and commitment to strengthen economic, environmental and social outcomes for all. Thank you to the officers who have helped us to develop and prepare this plan. I am filled with optimism about what lies ahead, and I'm confident that as we prepare to adopt this corporate plan today, we are taking a significant step towards a great future for the Sunshine Coast. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Luke. This is probably one of the more important documents of Council, if not the most important document of Council, because it's a pathway for the future. And in life, if you don't have plans for the future, a direction, a vision, and, you know, basically the foundation of what you want the future to be, then you don't know what you're going to get. So hopefully this document will go a long way to delivering in the future for the people of the Sunshine Coast and for the Council in general. I'd like to thank not just yourself, Luke, but also the other officers and my fellow councillors who put a lot of the ideas, the concepts and the future planning together to create this document. And I'm sure that it's something that we can all be proud of. So I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of not just my constituency in Division 5, but the entire Sunshine Coast region. There's one little question I'd just like to ask, and perhaps the CEO might have knowledge of this. And one of our visions is on page 15, under connected, where we say, we are a connected community of communities. This is the vision for the future. Fostering a strong sense of belonging and community spirit across our diverse coastal hinterland and rural areas. Our people and products are connected to the whole world through effective transport options and high-speed data and support innovation and making general business. So we're talking about the public transport system in here too, having an efficient public transport system. And that's really important because at the present moment, we don't have an effective public transport system. So my question, because it's a state responsibility, it's not ours. We don't own, run, control the public transport system. The state does. So I'd just like to ask the CEO, are you aware of, and can you report to the community about the current state of negotiations that we've had with the state government and Transport and Main Roads in relation to this issue?
Thank you for the question, and through the chair. Yes, I mean, we're obviously very focused on negotiations with both the state and the federal government, actually, around how we can move our people around the Sunshine Coast. And of course, connectedness and connection within our community is hugely important, and we're very focused on ensuring that we've got a transport system that is fit for purpose, not just for now, and indeed not just for the 2032 Olympics, but also going forward as part of a legacy for our community to be able to cope with the growth that we are going to be seeing over the next few years. But connectedness, certainly within this report, is not just about the transport connections that we're going to ensure that we get and the negotiations that we're having with state and federal government. It is also, as some of my colleagues have touched on, about data and making sure that information flows and that we're able to connect our communities in different ways. And in particular, I think one of the things that we are quite focused on is the very important issue of how we're able to connect our communities as they grow, as far as communication is concerned, as far as making sure that our communities are able to talk to one another, making sure that our neighbours know each other. It's as basic as that. So we're going from huge road infrastructure, rail infrastructure that we're negotiating, right the way through to how do we connect our communities more effectively than we have ever done before. It's something that Council has asked for, and it's something we're very focused on making sure we deliver, Councillor Johnston.
Councillor Johnston, do you have any more to say? No. Okay. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I also would like to thank all of our officers through the CEO for the work that they've done. And I'm pleased that the Council agreed with me that this document needed to be brought forward. Discussions that I had with the previous CEO in our forums, because at the end of last term, Council had adopted a refresh of the corporate plan, 2024 to 2028. It would have met our needs. And as Councillor Johnston said, it is the most important document. Not one of them, the most important document, because everything falls from it. The vision is our vision, this Council's vision. Had we not brought this forward, we'd still be working on the vision of the previous Council. And that's why it was so important for us to deal with this document early in our term, so it reflected the views and the aspirations of our elected members. So I'm pleased that this document's come here. I'm pleased with the work that it's done, the new vision that we've got, and thank you.
Councillor Landsberg.
Thank you, through the Chair, and I also rise to obviously endorse the officer recommendation, so well done, Luke and the team. Just a couple of things I just want to touch on in terms of the economy, and we know that just for my fellow councillors, obviously major events on the coast, and there's a little note in there around what they bring in terms of economic benefit to our region. And the major events team obviously run on the smell of an oily rag, very small amount of funding that goes into that major events team, around $2.4 million, but delivers around $86 million worth of economic benefit to our region. And when we do have the Aussies here, you can add another $15 million on top of that. But from obviously feedback from the events board, that I think we really need to make sure that my fellow councillors, when you have an event in your division, make sure you really have, I know you are very heavily involved in your communities, but it really is about how we can activate those events a little bit more and maybe bookend them on the back of other community events and really bring our communities and business groups together, because I know some of these events do have significant impact on our roads and transports and connectivity. And the other thing I know, obviously with the corporate plan, I know we're moving into changing times of more automation, and we did have obviously a workshop about AI and how that's going to move into the organisation as well. Many challenges ahead, but well done on the report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I have a different viewpoint to Councillor Natoli in terms of this plan. Yes, it is a vision, but it's a vision that has been driven by the feedback that we've received from our community. And in the report, it actually highlights the themes and high-level priorities that have come through from our community. And as Councillor Johnston so eloquently stated, to progress those issues and those needs, we need to have a plan and a plan on the way forward to achieve those things. So I disagree that this plan is a vision of the 11 people that are sitting around this table making the decision. I believe that this plan is driven by the needs of our community, and the 11 people sitting around this table here are helping to drive that vision for them, not for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else to speak? No? Councillors, this corporate plan reflects our shared vision created with our community for a connected, livable and thriving Sunshine Coast, and I commend the corporate plan, the Sunshine Coast Corporate Plan 2025 to 30 to you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Mr Flanagan. We'll move now to item 8.3 and we welcome Mr Brooks to present the item. Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. To the Chair, I appear today to discuss the Complaints Management Administrative Action Strategic Policy, the Administration Action Complaints Policy for short, which is currently managed by the Ethical Standards Branch. Administrative actions, briefly, they refer to decisions, acts, proposals and recommendations that are made by Council. Council has been in a process of reviewing the policy a number of policies at the moment, excuse me, and a review of this current policy is to see if it remains fit for purpose. On consideration of the current policy, it was found that both the policy and procedure and guidelines were incorporated into the policy, which can be a little bit confusing. As a result of which, it was proposed to change the policy to reflect both feedback that we've received from the community and also from our internal stakeholders and councillor portfolio owners. It's then proposed that the procedure and guidelines will form a separate document and will update it pro rata to reflect any changes and the community concerns. Primarily, the feedback we received is that not in respect directly as to what is an administrative action complaint, but what it does not include. As a consequence of that, we decided to look at the feedback and determine which is the best way that we can address it. And the suggestion was that we, to assist the community, is we come up with what is tabulated in front of you now. And these are the ones that do not remain within scope of the actual policy. I do not intend to go through every single one on there because some of them are self-explanatory, but I am happy to take questions in relation to any of them as we move on. In relation to this slide, excuse me, you will see that it does not relate to decisions that are made by councillors. That includes the Mayor. These should be considered by the independent assessor. It also doesn't relate to any complaints that may be made about the CEO. This is covered by a completely different policy or under Section 48A of the Crime and Corruption Act. In relation to this slide, you will see that in relation to matters that have been already been subject to an internal review. The internal reviews are covered by the branch, or they're covered ultimately by the Ethical Standards Branch. Once that review is completed, this policy doesn't apply. Should aggrieved members of the community wish to exercise their review rights, it's through the Ombudsman. Other issues that raised are in relation to planning approvals and DAs. Again, that's something that's not covered by the policy, and the community can exercise their review rights through a tribunal or, of course, through the planning court. Frequently that comes up are decisions that are made in relation to local law fines. Again, the review of rights as it states there through SPUR, or obviously through the Magistrates Court or any of the courts that may apply in this case. Civil disputes is another common one. Boundary fences, misuse of drones is a particular concern by our community. Again, this policy doesn't cover that, and the obvious places for that to go are for CASA. In some cases, in relation to boundaries, QCAT would be the best place to exercise their review rights, and in certain cases as well, it could go to the QPS. Where there are statute of limitations, then in those cases, again, they can obtain independent legal advice, which is the usual advice that we give to complainants who contact us, and then they can obviously exercise their rights again in the Queensland Civil Administrative Tribunal. Final slide on the table. Looking to the future, use of applications such as AI. These will be referred to the Information Commissioner, who I understand is already formulating some guidelines in relation to the use of artificial intelligence down the track. Criminal offences obviously dealt with through the Queensland Police Service. And then finally, a copy of this table will be placed on our website where the community can access it and consider it, as well as obviously look at the actual policy in relation to administrative action complaints. There are 6 principles that apply to this policy. The obvious one being that it requires that compliance by law. We're required to have this policy under the Local Government Act. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr Brooks. Councillors, can I have someone move the item? Councillor Johnston. And seconder, Councillor Broderick. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Johnston, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank you for presenting this report. It clearly outlines how the complaints management and the administrative actions that follow through from those complaint managements operate within this council and most likely within most councils. However, it's important that the public understand and have access to a document such as this so that they can see what their rights are, so that they can see how they go about processing complaints, etc., etc. And, you know, also, it's important that this document also outlines those areas which are not within our remit, not within our responsibility, and where they can go to get help and assistance. So I'd just like to thank you for all the work that you and the compliance team have done in relation to this and continue to do, and encourage all councillors to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Councillor Broderick.
Through the chair, I just wanted to thank you for this. This is great. If you haven't had a chance to read through it yet, you should. And like we said, it's available online. And following on from what Councillor Johnston said, it is available for everybody to have a look at and know exactly the process that is available to them for their complaints, which is fabulous. And one of the things that I love about this policy, and we spoke about it as well, is that how clear and how easy it is to understand the processes, because it's really well laid out. It's easy to read. And the other thing that I love about it, and you made mention of it as well, is that it talks about how it's fair and equitable. We take zero tolerance of abuse, particularly in relation to our council employees and our community members. It talks about access and inclusion. It talks about us being objective and consistent with our responses, and responsive and efficient and compliance. And I think they're really important things for the community to understand, that this isn't just something we've plucked out of the air, and this is the process that we're going to do, that a lot of time and consideration has been taken into this. So I really appreciate all of that. And you are right, it is clear, it is transparent, and it is really easy to follow. So thank you for all of your work, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Anyone else, councillors? Councillor Johnston, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mr Brooks. Thank you. We shall. We go now to break. Councillors, we're going to take a brief break for morning tea now, and we shall return at 11 a.m. Thank you. Welcome back. We continue the meeting here on the 27th of February, and we're moving on to item 8.4. Next on the agenda, we can take this item as read, noting the CEO and the group executives are available to answer any questions if we have any. And that is the Audit Committee meeting of 10 February 2025. Councillors, can I have someone move for this item? Councillor Broderick, and a seconder, Councillor Hungerford. Councillor Broderick, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I just want to take this opportunity to thank both our internal and our external members of the committee, our audit committee. I actually love getting together with them every few months, because this is where the accountability and the integrity and the transparency all takes place, which, as you know, is really exciting for me. So it's been really great. We've been looking at streamlining processes, analysing and reviewing everything that comes through council, just to make sure that we work more efficiently and become the best at what we do. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for all their work and all of the prep work that you guys do to make that happen. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the report that you've brought us, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Does anyone else wish to speak? No. Councillor, do you wish to close? No. Okay. I'll put the motion to the vote then. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you to the team who prepared that. We move on now to item 8.5, and we have Ms Dunbar to present this item. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Sorry, a bit
Thank
shorter
you.
than everyone else. Good morning, Madam Mayor, councillors and council executive team. I'm here to present the financial performance report for January. At the end of January, council achieved an operating result of $194.8 million, which is $2.2 million favourable compared to the current budget. Council's revenue is currently $1.6 million ahead of the year-to-date budget, with general rates $1.3 million lower than budget, while cleansing charges are higher than budget by $1.3 million, and resource recovery recyclables are $1.4 million higher than year-to-date budget. Expenditures are $538,000 less than current budget. Key factors contributing to this include lower than expected spending on contracts for waste at $1.6 million and digital and information services $562,000. Expenditures for the levy projects are currently below budget as well, a total of $1 million. Our capital works program has progressed 56.8% of the $261.1 million budget, with total expenditure to date reaching $147.7 million. The core capital works program is 57.2% complete, with the actual spend amounting to $87.1 million. As at the end of January, council's cash balance is $127.4 million and our debt is $433.8 million, with a second debt payment scheduled for February 2025. In terms of investment performance, we currently hold one term deposit totalling $10 million, with an average weighted return of 4.9%. Current risks outlined in the report include the potential negative impact on Council's financial sustainability, both in the short and long term, should the budgeted operating result not be achieved, as well as the continued monitoring required for the delivery of the capital works program within budgeted scope and cost. And the recommendation today that Council receive and note the report titled January 2025 Financial Performance Report.
Thank you, Ms Dunbar. Councillors, a mover. Councillor Hungerford, a seconder. Councillor Broderick, thank you both. Councillor Hungerford, would you like to speak?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and for Rhonda out there that watches our live streams of our meetings and particularly has an interest in the finance, they've left the best till last, but here we are. As of the 31st of January, we've got an operating result of 194.8 million. That's 2.2 million, or 1.1% above the current budget. 554.7 million in operating revenue has been received, which is 1.6 million higher than budget. 351 million in operating expenses has been incurred, which is 538,000, or 0.2% higher than budget. That's only small. 147 million, 56.8% of Council's 260 million total capital works program has been expended. The core capital program has expended 87.1 million, or 57.2% of budget. And at this point in the budget cycle in the year, that's a healthy position to be in. The one that concerns me most is our cash balance has further deteriorated to 127.4 million from 139 million. And that's where we've got our higher costs. They're saying inflation's coming down, but I'm yet to see the reduction in the costs of delivering our services or doing our capital works. They're still substantially up there, and that's put a headwind for us. I do look forward to working with the new Chief Financial Officer when he comes on board. I think that's end of March or April we should have him there, and how we work on getting that, because that's...
Councillor, just him or her. Just noting that we don't know.
Sorry.
We don't have any preconceived ideas, or they. So, yes, thank you.
Sorry, I'm not politically correct there.
No, that's right.
With that one there, that equates to about 1.5 months of cash reserve. I want to see us get it back to about 2.5 months to have us in a healthier situation. What is pleasing is we're keeping debt under control. That's stable at 433.8 million. And with $7 billion worth of assets, that's a healthy position to be in. But we do have to look at those costs going into the future and delivering those services and works to people. And I certainly do hope inflation does come down in the future, because in the past 4 years, that's taken quite a headwind on us in delivering for our community. And I'm sure all governments are in that thing, all councils. And we certainly do hope to improve that in the future. But we do need to look at our expenditure and how we go into the future to keep that sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. First of all, I just have a question in regards to the one-off catch-up payments from our resource recovery. Do we know what that was from? Is that from one of the other councils that we actually provide the services for, or was that the payment? Catch-up makes me think that they were behind.
So through the chair, so that resource recovery, it is just a little bit of a catch-up from prior year, but it also is related to additional tonnage going through the new MRF, particularly on the cardboard recyclable side. One-off, but also ongoing.
Okay, thank you. This question through you, Madam Mayor, to our CEO. On the basis that our operating position has deteriorated and our cash reserves, I just maybe give us some indication of, you've been in the job 10 weeks, and obviously a recommendation of a new Chief Financial Officer. But in terms of restoring and bringing us back into a healthy operating position, or can you just give some highlights, I suppose, of where we need to go and how you're going to be able to manage, and it's maybe some time frames.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Natoli. Yes, whilst not directly related, obviously, to this month's cash position, I can comment on some of the activities that the executive have been involved in as far as addressing the longer-term financial sustainability of the organisation and the pressure on our cash balances and our ability to be able to deliver some of the aspirations that Council want. We are currently, as you are aware, looking very hard at our operational expenditure. We have a recruitment freeze in place in order to address, in the short term, certain cash balance issues, as well as I'm quite pleased to be able to say that all the departmental heads, all the directors have gone away and worried their own budgets quite significantly, and we're in the process of coming up with a 6 month projection around some of the cash savings that we are going to be able to deliver over the short term, totaling in the order of around $5.5 to $6.5 million over that 6 month period. So this is getting us in the right direction as far as reversing some of the trajectory that we've seen. But in a sense, the next stage is more important, the long-term financial strategy and how we actually go about addressing these issues in a more fundamental way. And certainly, councillors will be seeing aspects of that in fairly short order around the thinking of the financial sustainability strategy, the thinking around the service reviews, indeed the thinking around the realignment that the executive are currently exercising. So all of those things combined, along with the work that I believe the Chief Financial Officer is going to be able to coordinate, will place us in a very strong position next year, and I have every intention, having listened to Council, to reverse some of the challenges that we're facing in short order, as opposed to a sort of a slower burn. So hopefully that gives you enough, Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Mr Baker. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things in relation to the Resource Recovery Centre, the MRF. This is not a question, it's an observation that we should see a continual improvement in the revenue that comes from that, as long as the sale prices continue to be fairly stable, because we're now actually producing perhaps one of the best results as far as minor contamination of those resources that are then on-sold because of the new Material Recovery Centre, and that's credit to the people who designed it and implemented it. But the other question, there is a question I do have, and that is in relation to the reset that you were just talking about, Mr CEO. Are the savings from that likely to be reflected in Budget Review 3, which I think is in April? Is that right? No, it's in March, is it? Right. Is it likely to be reflected by then, or will it more and likely have a major impact on future adopted budgets?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Johnston, and through the Chair. They actually will be reflected in BR3, the short-term aspects of this, at least the vast majority of them. Now, the longer-term actions that I'm talking about obviously will be reflected during the year, and certainly we'll be briefing Council on the long-term financial strategy when we've completed that. But the short-term certainly reflected in the BR3.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, through the chair. I actually just wanted to stand up. I think a lot of it's been covered already, but I just wanted to thank Sharon for doing this report in Michael's absence today. So I'm not going to bombard you with a bunch of questions because you were completely freaked out about that. So, so I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you both do. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Broderick. Councillor Bunnag.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick, reflection. We've had some really good discussions through this discussion around, our own financial position, but how does it actually impact people in the community, and what do people in the community feel at the moment in their own household finances? I reflect on the fact that we had our second run of rates due at the end of last week, and I recognise that it's at a time of the year when school fees are back, rates, water, electricity. And the thing that I would like to get across to people who are listening, or if they know people who are under financial stress, is to please try and make positive contact with council to discuss the options that you have for payment. And please don't just suffer on the vine about agonising whether or not you have to find all the money all at once. We recognise that people in the community right now, for a range of different reasons, are under a lot of different financial pressures. Inflation has slowed down, but that doesn't mean the cost of things decreases. It means the cost escalations decrease potentially. So ultimately, we know that there are people in this community who are doing it tough. As a council, we are having to look at ways that we can do things better, but it would be wrong of us to not reflect on the fact that it's a broader problem in our society at the moment. And I'd invite people, if you are having a tough time finding that money, please reach out to us and our team, who are award winners in terms of being able to work with you in terms of making sure we can get the best outcome for you.
Thank you, Councillor Bunnag, for highlighting our payment plan and those other options that we do offer to our community if they do get in touch. So thank you for that. Councillors, no one else is going to speak then. Councillor Hungerford, would you like to close?
In summary, Madam Mayor, we're in a sound position. We have headwinds. We're not alarmed. We're alert to them, and we're making the appropriate adjustments for our budgets into the future so we can preserve our long-term ability to deliver for our community. And I'm very much looking forward to that work. It's sound work, and it will pay dividends if we're disciplined in our approach to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms Dunbar, Ms Wex. Thank you for coming and for your work. Okay, that concludes those items on our agenda. We have no notices of motion today, so we'll move on to petitions. Councillor Landsberg, the first of many. I believe you have a petition to table today.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, a petition to the Sunshine Coast Council to install lights at the Dicky Beach skate park. We have a total number of signatures, on paper 140 plus 250 electronic signatures, and 6 electronic as well, which is a total of 390 signatures. The need for this obviously is the repurposing, and obviously when we did the remodelling of the Dicky Beach precinct on the foreshore area there with the new skate park, and it's been an amazing activation of that area. It's really actually improved sight lines. The old skate park was hidden behind the old toilet block, and some unsavoury activities used to happen down there. But the need obviously for this, and we've seen some wonderful annual events down there, the Dicky Beach Skate Park Bash, which is hugely attended. I think we have about 1,000 people sort of cram into that little location. And what we're seeing now is obviously we don't have any shade down there.
Councillor Landsberg, you're just speaking to it before we've had a seconder. Would you?
My apologies.
That's okay. Can I have a seconder for this? Councillor Johnston. Okay, Councillor Landsberg, would you like to speak?
Sorry.
You have 1 minute in total. You've done a minute, but you know.
I'm known to go a little bit off track.
Yes.
My apologies.
Yes,
Yeah.
poor memory perhaps.
I do. I'll be honest.
Well, this is eating into your time now, so
We've got
go
a lot
ahead.
of things going on at the moment, so my apologies. Yes, look, lighting for Dicky Beach Skate Park, it'd be a wonderful addition to this location. It would be able to obviously activate that evening use, and I'm sure the community would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor Burns, you have a petition.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Petition for Sunshine Coast Council. This petition reads, petition against the draft dog exercise area regional plan, specifically the recommendation to prohibit dogs from the beaches specified in table A9, proposed new dog prohibited beaches, and in particular, Ballinger Beach access 261 to 262. Note that there's 191 signatories to this petition. Present that to the CEO now.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Hungerford. Thank you, Councillor Burns and Councillor Hungerford. Councillor Burns, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Just in recognition of the community's passionate response to the proposal that's currently before them, really recognise people when they actually exercise their democratic right to petition and to provide feedback, and appreciate their willingness to do so, and appreciate the work of the staff behind the scenes who are doing the work on that dog exercise area regional plan. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Burns, and also noting that we have extended the feedback period by a week to March the 7th, so we do encourage all of our community to provide that feedback. Okay, I'll now put that motion to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Suarez, you have a petition.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I have a petition with a cover letter. The cover letter is from lead petitioner Bree Logie from Stumers Creek Off-Leash Dog Beach Committee. The petition is 11 pages with 103 signatures. There is also an online petition with, as of 9 o'clock this morning, it was 3,899 online signatures. The petition reads, we, the undersigned residents of the Sunshine Coast, respectfully petition the Sunshine Coast Council to reconsider the proposed amendments to Subordinate Local Law No. 2, Animal Management 2023 and the related Dog Exercise Area Regional Plan. Reasons for petition. 1. Reduction in off-leash areas. We oppose reducing off-leash areas at Stumers Creek, a popular tourism destination, and other locations mentioned in the plan, including but not limited to prohibited areas such as Point Arkwright and Point Perry. Tourists and locals visit to enjoy the off-leash beach experience with their dogs. The proposed changes, including moving the off-leash area north of the creek, are potentially dangerous due to strong undercurrents and rocks that become exposed at high tide. This could create hazards for children, elderly and small dogs, especially in the event of an emergency. 2. Dog safety concerns. The proposed on-leash beach area 72 to 69 may prove unsafe for the large volume of leashed and long-leashed dogs should they become tangled, leading to anxious behaviours and fights. This stretch of beach proposed as a leashed option is currently where dogs enjoy swimming, running and playing with their handlers and have done so for many years. Currently, there are no flags to indicate potential dangers. Number 3, community impact. Ideal for dog and human socialisation. Many people travel from Brisbane and beyond to avoid the fenced dog parks that can overstimulate some dogs into aggressive behaviour and fighting. The Stumers area offers a safer, more relaxed environment for dogs and owners. There are minimal significant issues with dog behaviour at this location, and the community enjoys this unique feature. Number 4, the environment. According to locals, some involved in looking after dune and creek areas, there is minimal direct impact to birds and wildlife in and around the creek or surrounding bush areas specifically caused by dogs. Issues with the creek appear to stem from stormwater drains when the seawater ceases to flow. We ask the Sunshine Coast Council to 1. Maintain the current off-leash areas at Stumers Creek, 2. Ensure any changes protect the safety of dogs, residents and tourists, and 3, increased consultation with local residents to better understand the needs of pet owners. We urge the Council to halt the proposed amendments and engage in further consultation before moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Bunnag. Councillor Suarez, would you like to speak to the petition?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to yourself and to CEO John Baker for coming out on the weekend to speak to residents at Stumers Creek and hear their concerns firsthand, and also to Councillor Bunnag who came to attend the pop-up with myself at Stumers Creek when we had that one during the midweek. We've had a lot of feedback from particularly dog owners, which is one user group that we're looking to get feedback from. Some very constructive feedback, which has been acknowledged by the team as well on the day. And I look forward to hearing the consultation feedback from all of the users in the Coolum area on how they feel about the Stumers Creek area, and when we get to present those results to the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Suarez. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you all. Councillor Law, you have a petition to present.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, a petition of 2 pages signed by 19 people. And the petition reads, "We, the undersigned, respectfully petition the Sunshine Coast Council to fix a safety hazard created by the recently completed road alterations at the intersection of Panorama Drive and Pringle Road, Nambour." There are 4 points. That traffic driving along Panorama Drive from Petrie Creek Road, there were give-way signs at the intersection slowing traffic before turning right and continuing. This has been removed, leaving no incentive for vehicles to slow before entering the intersection. As such, vehicles entered the intersection at speed. Panorama Drive has been significantly widened, leaving only a narrow strip on both sides of the road. Unsafe vehicle and pedestrian access and egress from 36 Panorama Drive has been caused. And in relation to number 2, pedestrian access along Panorama Drive have made it unsafe for people to now walk along around this intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Do we have a seconder for the petition? Councillor Suarez. Councillor Law, would you like to speak to the petition?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, over many years there's been a lot of conversations and meetings trying to improve safety of Panorama Drive. The intention of these works that have happened at this intersection was to improve safety, and it appears that the lived experience of people in this area, the 19 signatures, are all people who are directly impacted and are from Panorama Drive, Pringle Drive, and in their view, it's not working. So the petition is about having another look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillors, I will now put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillors, we have no further items on today's agenda, so I declare the meeting closed at 11:27. Thank you. Thanks to everyone online.